Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to welcome you to the Technion's Honorary Doctorate ceremony for 2012. My name is Chagit Atiyah, and I'm a professor of computer science at the Technion. I am honored to serve as your Master of Ceremonies this evening. Like all great universities, the Technion is pleased to award its honorary degrees upon distinguished individuals whose contributions to society and the science have been truly exemplary. Tonight, we recognize 8 such outstanding individuals. Please rise to receive the academic procession. Leading the procession, the President of the Technion, followed by the senior administration. Next come our honorees in yellow hoods. And lastly, the deans and heads of academic units and members of the Senate. The color hoods represent the different domains. Orange for engineering, yellow for the sciences, brown for architecture, and green for medicine. Please wait. I have the honor to first invite the members of the Presidium. Chairman of the Board of the Governors, Mr. Lawrence Jacquier. President of the Technion, Professor Peretz Levi. Chairman of the Council, Mr. Yoram Alster. Senior Executive Vice President, Professor Paul Fagin. Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs, Professor Moshe Sidi. And Dean of the Jacobs Graduate School, Professor Hillel Pratt. I am now proud to invite to their seats on the stage this year's recipients of the Honorary Doctorate, Professor Srulek, Cederbaum of Germany. Professor Francois Diederich of Switzerland. Gary Goldberg of the United States. Canada, sorry. I have to make one mistake. Maybe this is my only mistake. Itzhak Nissan of Israel. Dr. Eli Opper of Israel. Joan Seidel of the United States. Professor Gunter Spur of Germany. And Moshe Yanai of Israel. And now, please, will the deans and Senate members take their seats on the stage behind the honorees. Ladies and gentlemen, you may all be seated. Members of the Board of Governors, members of the Senate, members of the Technion family, colleagues and guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2012 Technion Honorary Doctorate ceremony. To open this festive evening, I would like to invite Professor Peretz Levi, the President of the Technion, to offer his greetings.
Thank you, Chagit. Chairman of the Board, Mr. Honorary Jacquier, Chairman of the Council, Mr. Yoram Alster, my colleagues, Professor Sidi, Professor Fagin, Professor Pratt, the deans and faculty, and the distinguished recipients of the Honorary Doctorate Award. board member, guests, ladies and gentlemen. It all started here, at this place, when a stone was laid into the ground. This stone played a major role in shaping an era, but by itself, this stone was also a product of an era when Jews were not allowed to study medicine or engineering in many European universities. And like many revolutions, the initiative was that of young people. In the 5th Zionistic Congress in Basel in December 1901, a group of young men forced the leadership of the Congress to adopt a resolution calling for a fundamental survey of the question of founding a Jewish university. 3 young men took this task upon themselves. The 24-year-old man, Martin Buber of Vienna, a student of philosophy, the 27-year-old Berthold Feivel of Berlin, a newspaperman and an editor, and the 28-year-old Chaim Weizmann, a chemistry student and at that time a lecturer at Geneva University. Today we would call them daring entrepreneurs who took upon themselves a very high-risk startup. Buber, Feivel, and Weizmann proceeded to develop the idea of a Jewish university as part of the national renaissance of the Jewish people. Interestingly, even though none of them had any special affinity to engineering, when they made the case for a Jewish university, they emphasized the primacy of technology. 11 years later, the dream had started to take shape. With financial support from the Vysotsky Foundation in Moscow and Jacob Schiff from New York, the cornerstone was laid and construction began. Both the Vysotsky family and Jacob Schiff conditioned their gifts on total independence of the Institute. In a letter published in the American Hebrew in 1914, Jacob Schiff wrote, and I quote, "My interest in the technicum was stimulated because of the prospect which here opened itself for the German, Russian, and American Jew, for the Orthodox, for the Reformer, for the Zionist and the anti-Zionist to cooperate harmoniously in the cause of cultural elevation and progress in Palestine." 100 years later, the vision of the 2 first Technion benefactors was fulfilled. Today, the Technion is a microcosmos of the heterogeneous Israeli society where secular, religious, ultra-Orthodox Jews, Muslims, Christians, and Druze are studying shoulder to shoulder in harmony, and where members of the Kuratorion, you are my friends, are joining us from the 4 corners of the world. This is the time also to thank our hosts of this evening, the Madatech, Israel National Museum of Science, Technology and Space, Mr. Ronen Mir, the director, and Mr. Leon Recanati for their hospitality. There are many ways to trace the development of a university. I can describe to you the development of its departments, how from a single class of 17 students in 1924, all studying building engineering and architecture, the Technion of 2012 has 18 faculties with 13,000 students. Or I can chart the growth of the budget, the number of buildings, or the tremendous impact of the Technion on the economy of Israel. But there is a rather unique way to learn about the early history of a university. And this is by looking back on the list of honorary doctorates, a list of names that attest to the caliber of people affiliated with the university in its early days, whose support and promotion of Technion helped propelled its development into a world-class technological institute it has become. The first honorary doctorate of science and technology in the history of the Technion was bestowed on Dr. William Fondiller from New York in 1949. Dr. Fondiller was the vice president of Bell Laboratories. He held 21 patents related to the development of modern telephone, radio, and television. And in 1944, he became the president of the newly established American Society for the Advancement of the Hebrew Institute of Technology in Haifa, a name which much later was changed to the American Technion Society. Amazingly, the list of honorary doctorates of science and of science and technology that followed Dr. Fondeleer is a who is who list in the world of science of that time. Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr, who won the Nobel Prizes in physics in 21 and 22, need no introduction. James Franck, who received the Nobel Prize in physics in 1925 for the confirmation of Bohr's model of the atom, and Harold Clayton Urey, whose pioneering work on isotopes earned him the Nobel Prize in chemistry in 1934. Isidor Isaac Rabi, a Nobel laureate of 1944, who created the molecular beam magnetic resonance detection method. Selman Abraham Wexman, the biochemist and microbiologist who discovered streptomycin and coined the word antibiotics, who was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine in 1952. And Robert Burns Woodward, the organic chemist, who was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1965. And Eugene Paul Wigner, who received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1963. This list represents the story of modern physics and modern chemistry in the 20th century. All of them were honorary doctorates of the Technion. All these extraordinary scientists deeply cared for the newly established Technion. Tonight, we carry on this remarkable tradition, started in 1949. We honor an outstanding group of individuals by bestowing on them Technion honorary doctorate. Individuals who are true visionaries and leaders, scientists and engineers, successful entrepreneurs and statesmen who play a pivotal role in the economic development and advancement of this country and provided leadership to our Technion society in the US and Canada. The honorary doctorate recipients today at Technion's centennial year, Professor Srulek Cederbaum, Professor Francois Diederich, Gary Goldberg, Itzhak Nissan, Dr. Eli Opper, Joan Seidel, Professor Gunter Spur, and Moshe Yanai have given Technion noteworthy contributions that further advanced its academic, scientific, and teaching quality and improve its facilities and campus life. Thank you, dear friends, for your passion, for your vision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Lavie. I now invite Mr. Lawrence Jacquier, our Chairman of the Board of Governors, to deliver his greetings.
President of the Technion Peretz Lavie, Chairman of the Council Yoram Alster, distinguished members of our faculty, recipients of our honorary doctorates, members of the Technion family. This site is absolutely awesome. And there's something inside me that says I should just stand here and soak it all up. But I won't. It's not every week that I get a chance to give 3 speeches in 3 days. And each one must be of a standard that gives due credit to the occasion and to the people attending, and as is the case tonight, those we honor. Tonight is perhaps even more overwhelming because, as President Lavie has said, we gather in a place of incredible historic importance. And I would say a building which formed the Technion in many ways as it is today. From humble beginnings of a cornerstone 100 years ago, to the building that you see before you, to our current campus on Mount Carmel, the Technion has grown beyond all possible dreams of its founders. It is now a major player on the world stage and contributing to both Israel and the world way, way above its size and weight, to put it in the vernacular. But that is really a simplistic reference and needs some adding to do justice to all that has been achieved. In the shadow of this building, it warrants mentioning that the Technion has grown to a campus of 1,375,000 square meters, with 90 buildings of an aggregate space of 500,000 square meters. It has over 4,000 units of student housing and a current student population of almost 13,000. What a great shadow this building has cast, and it gives true meaning to the saying, "From little acorns, big oak trees grow." There is also a famous midrash that I think is applicable. The midrash of an old man who is observed planting a fig tree. And he's asked, "Do you expect to live long enough to consume the fruits from this fig tree?" His reply, "I was born into a world flourishing with fig trees. My ancestors planted for me, and now I plant for my children." The act of planting is in many ways an act of faith. To bury a fertile seed with no way of tracking its progress once we have left this world demands vision, equanimity of spirit, and deep-rooted trust. So many variables can influence the eventual outcome, and we have so few means of control that any future yield can truthfully be fairly described as miraculous. But we know that to put all our faith in the belief of miracles is not enough. Alongside our faith, there needs to be human endeavor and incredible fortitude. We need to continue to plant and develop in order for future miracles to arise. In every miracle, we need to see the human phenomenon. And in every human phenomenon, we need to see the miracle. What has been achieved at the Technion, and by all those associated with it, is a true measure of the combined efforts, the synergy of those of the past, those of the present, and those of the future. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on this stage, we honor those of the present, those who have contributed in their respective fields to the well-being of the Technion. And through their contributions, they have been planters of seeds and put their faith in the future, just as our founders did 100 years ago. And so, our dear honorees, we extend to you our ultimate respect for your support, friendship, and trust. You come from the fields of academia, from the world of Jewish, communal, industrial, and business affairs. You are true leaders, and what you have done and achieved, you have done not because you sought recognition and honor, but because for the sake of humanity. And that is completely consistent with the mission statement and vision of this great institution. Tonight you receive from us our honorary doctorate. In Hebrew, Doctor L'Shem Kavod, Doctor for the sake of honor. We can hold you in no greater esteem. Let me, in ending, turn once more, as I did last night, to the image of our founders sitting amongst us and being overwhelmed by what they see before them. Tonight, we can do the same. When we look at this building, which from its cornerstone laying 100 years ago to 1953 was the home of the Technion, and then look at the campus on Mount Carmel. We cannot help but be thrilled by what we see and what has been achieved. We cannot help but be overwhelmed by where we are and yet where we have to go. That is our springboard to ensure that the future will derive great benefits from all of us here tonight as founders and planters of seeds for the next generation. B'mehera b'yameinu, speedily in our days. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Jakir. To begin the conferment of the Honorary Doctorate degrees, I call upon Mr. Yoram Alster, Chairman of the Technion Council, to read the formal announcement of the Honorary Doctorate recipients.
הקורטוריון של הטכניון, מכון טכנולוגי לישראל, בתוקף סמכויותיו המוענקות לו על ידי חוקת המוסד, ובהתאם להחלטת הוועד המנהל ביום י' בכסלו, שנת 5772, שהוא היום השישי בחודש דצמבר 2011, ועל דעת הסנאט, מעניק בזאת לפרופסור סרולק סדרבאום, פרופסור פרנסואה דידריך, גארי גולדברג, יצחק ניסן, דוקטור אלי אופר, ז'ואן סיידל, פרופסור אמריטוס גונטר שפור ומשה ינאי את התואר דוקטור לשם כבוד. ניתן בחיפה ביום כ"א בסיוון שנת 5772, שהוא היום ה-11 בחודש יוני שנת 2012, בשנה ה-65 למדינת ישראל. על החתום, לורנס ז'קיר, יושב ראש הקורטוריון, פרופסור פרץ לוי, נשיא, יורם אלסטר, יושב ראש הוועד המנהל. The Board of Governors of the Technion, Israel Institute of Technology, by virtue of the authority granted to it by the Constitution of the Institute and in accordance with the decision made by the Council on the 10th days of Kislev, 5772, the 6th days of December 2011, and with the approval of the Senate, hereby confers upon Professor Srulek Cederbaum, Professor Francois Diederich, Gary Goldberg, Itzhak Nissan, Dr. Eli Opper, Joan Seidel, Professor Gunter Spur, and Moshe Yanai, the degree of Doctor Honoris Causa, given in Haifa on the 21st day of Sivan, 5772, the 11th days of June 2012, in the 65th year of the independence of the State of Israel. Signed by Mr. Lawrence Jakir, Chairman of the Board of Governors, Professor Peretz Levi, President, Yoram Alster, Chairman of the Council. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Alster. We shall begin with the conferment of the Honorary Doctorate. Biographies of our distinguished recipients may be found in your program. I call upon Professor Srulek Cederbaum to please rise. In recognition of your many significant contributions to molecular sciences, in particular for your contributions to the understanding of the quantum mechanical foundations of structure and dynamics of molecules, and for the discovery of the intermolecular or interatomic Coulombic decay ICD phenomenon, which has emerged to be a highlight in chemical and physical sciences, and for your many years of support for and cooperation with the Technion. I now invite Professor Cederbaum to approach the podium and Professor Moshe Sidi to present the scroll to him. I would like to invite Professor Cederbaum to respond.
So, dear colleagues, dear friends, dear family, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot see you, but I hope you can see me. Thank you for coming. I feel very honored that you all came. How did I find the Technion? Or better to say, how did the Technion find me? It all began in 1978 at a conference in Boulder, Colorado, where I met Nimrod Moiseyev. After the conference, I met him and his family accidentally in New York on the street. I took it as a hint of destiny to visit him at the Technion. The first visits were irregular, and I came to love the Technion and started to visit regularly, also during difficult times. A great friendship and extremely fruitful scientific collaboration developed with Nimrod, and later on friendships and close relationships with other members of the chemistry department, like, for example, Uri Peskin, Zohar Amitai, Eli Kolodny, and also of the physics department, like Shmuel Fishman and Moti Segev. The list is, of course, not complete. I have only 3 minutes. In time, a lively exchange of PhD students and postdoc has emerged. I would like to name those who joined me in Heidelberg. Ophir Alon, he is now at the University of Haifa. Vitali Averbuk, he is now at Imperial College London. Kirill Goldberg, he is still with me. And Shachar Kleiman, who joined my group very recently. All the Israelis from the Technion who joined my team integrated very well and strengthened my group very much. I am also honored here for my scientific achievements. Such achievements are only possible with a strong team, and I would like to thank all the former and present members of my team for their collaboration. Being myself a non-typical German scientist, I am especially proud of the internationality of my group. So members come from many countries. The list is probably not complete. I tried to write it down yesterday. So it's Israel, USA, Russia, India, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Japan, Taiwan, Iran, and of course Europe, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, France, Italy, England, Spain, Belgium. It makes me extremely happy that many of them have found good academic positions in Germany and in various other countries. And this is in both chemistry and physics departments. Let me conclude with a statement. My sister Leora and my friends at the Technion make me feel that I have 2 homes, one in Germany and one here. Thank you.
Thank you. I call upon Professor Francois Diederich to please rise. In tribute to your outstanding scientific achievements and your important fundamental contributions to the fields of organic chemistry, advanced materials, and chemical biology, in recognition of your outstanding leadership in the international scientific community, and in gratitude for your friendship and support of the scientific community in Israel and the Technion in particular. Please approach the podium. And Professor Fagin, please present the scroll. I invite Professor Diederich to respond.
Dear President Lavie, dear Chairman of the Council, dear Chairman and members of the Board of Governors, dear faculty, guests and friends. The honorary doctoral degree from the Technion makes me very happy. I am proud about this exciting association with your wonderful institution. I feel deeply honored and equally grateful, and would like to thank all of those at the Technion and elsewhere that were involved in making this possible. Actually, I wish to include in my expression of gratitude the name of a person from outside the Technion. With his generous donation, Mr. Seymour Schulich from Canada provided funds that the Department of Chemistry, now named Schulich Faculty, wisely uses to give fellowships and awards to the best in the undergraduate and graduate student body, and to refurbish the existing laboratory space. Moreover, these funds also support Schulich lectureships and visiting professorships. Through those, the department further strengthens its ties to the global chemistry community and exposes its students to the wide range of topics that chemistry supports as a central enabling science. My wife Georgine, who is in the audience, and myself indeed spent a wonderful time, both professionally and personally, in January 2011 at the Technion, when I was a schulisch visiting professor for 1 month and taught a 12-hour course on various aspects of our research with a focus on deciphering the principles of molecular recognition in chemical and biological systems, on the discovery and quantification of new weak intermolecular interactions, and the synthesis-driven invention of new optoelectronic molecular and supramolecular advanced materials. But in fact, my relations to the faculty of the Department of Chemistry at the Technion go back to the early 1980s, when Professor David Ginsburg, who developed the division of chemistry at the Technion in the 1950s, spent 2 sabbaticals at the Max Planck Institute for Medical Research in Heidelberg, where I was finishing up my habilitation. We had nearly daily discussions on chemistry, including on the ongoing writing of his monographs on propylanes, but equally on science policies, politics in general, and religion. In 1985, he gave me best advice and strongly encouraged me to move to UCLA after my habilitation. I did so, and I believe it was good this way. It again was David Ginsburg who had initiated close ties between chemists at the Technion and my current institution, the ETH Zurich in Switzerland, where David spent in the 1950s to 1980s much time with my previous colleagues, such as Professor Jack Dunitz. Professor Dunitz received an honorary doctoral degree from the Technion in 1990, and since 1992 until today, at age 89, he is an active postdoctoral fellow in my group. That's a very special ETH arrangement. Let me finish with a few remarks concerning my country of origin. I am a native of Luxembourg, a country 8 times smaller in size and 15 times smaller in population than Israel. While the Technion already enters the visions of the next decades with the awesome Cornell Technion engineering development on Roosevelt Island, Luxembourg has just founded, at the turn of the millennium in 1999, its first university. In the targeted transformation of Luxembourg from a finance-based to a scientific knowledge-based society, the admirable university and high-tech and startup industry developments in Israel serve as a strong model. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I call upon Gary Goldberg to please rise. Thank you. In recognition of your selfless commitment to social and communal responsibility, your charitable pursuits for the benefit of your community, and in particular, your efforts on behalf of the Technion and the State of Israel. In gratitude for the transformative influence that you have had on the Canadian Technion Society, and the effective visionary leadership you have demonstrated. Please approach the podium, and I ask Professor Paul Fagin to present the scroll. I invite Mr. Goldberg to respond.
Ambassador Hunt, Canada's ambassador to Israel, distinguished leaders, esteemed faculty, and honored graduates, and friends of Technion. I'd like to thank all those involved with the conferral of this significant and esteemed recognition. I'm proudly grateful for the extraordinary privilege of joining the other honorees on this podium tonight, for what it represents, and for the many years of inspirational and proud association with this outstanding university, and especially its primary resource, the people who have made it so successful. Mikol Melamdai Hiskalti. I have learned from all these teachers. The visionaries who established Technion and those thought leaders who have guided it to exemplary achievements foresaw within the Technion the infinite capacity of the human brain and, by extension, the human mind to create both knowledge and understanding and to apply it in a practical way. Remaining at the vanguard of technological capability is perhaps the most urgent requirement of any enterprise or country that wishes to advance and enhance its infrastructure, vitality, and impact. Technion has and must continue to attain that objective by maintaining an environment that enriches and empowers the collective intellectual capacity of its faculty and students. The leadership team has achieved excellence at Technion by assessing and setting the priorities, distinguishing between the desired, the required, and the strategic. This visionary thinking has produced a globally recognized brand, Technion, whose reputation ranks it among the most dynamic and innovative universities in the world. The tagline on the 100th anniversary logo is, "It starts here, in the state of Israel. Intelligence inside, home of the genesis of new ideas, creativity, new beginnings. Science is the best tool available to humankind to solve the world's problems. At Technion, scientists and engineers seek and develop new technologies to utilize this tool." Albert Einstein wrote this cautionary statement, quote, "Israel can win the difficult battle of survival only by developing painstakingly the intelligence and expert knowledge of her young people in the field of technology," unquote. Technion has excelled in realizing this imperative. Future capabilities will continue to depend on enabling technologies. Technion is an enabling institution. That is its primary function. We share a personal responsibility to enable and expedite Technion's future possibilities and capabilities. Each of us has a unique opportunity to participate in advancing Technion's future. Thank you, Technion, for all that you have done in your first century for Israel and humankind, and continue to do. Thank you for this cherished honor and the privilege and pleasure of being able to assist in your vital mission to imagineer the future of this great country and thereby to inspire the world.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I call upon Itzhak Nissan of Israel to please rise. For your contribution to the security of Israel in your many roles in the defense industries, for your contribution to the Israel aerospace industries, which you have helped lead to unprecedented achievements, making it a leader in aviation, space, electronics, science, and security, and for your role in establishing a fruitful collaboration between Technion and Israel aerospace industries, which serves as a model for cooperation between industry and academia. Mr. Nissan, would you please approach the podium? I also invite Professor Paul Fagin to present the scroll. I invite Mr. Nissan to respond.
Mr. President, Peres Lavie, members of the Board of Governors, fellow award recipients, ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly honored to receive the Technion Honorary Degree. Israel Aerospace Industry, IAI, is the largest aerospace and defense company in Israel. IAI provides Israel with satellites, missile defense system, mission aircraft, radars, and many other systems essential to our national defense. Today's global defense and aerospace market, we compete against the world giant companies. To succeed, we have to be smarter and to reinvent ourselves every day. This is why the connection between Israeli industry and its academic institution is so important. Many of IAI top leaders and engineers are Technion graduates, which are the driving force behind the success of IAI. IAI has always had a strong and special relationship with the Technion. Cooperation with the Technion is very valuable to IAI. One current example is a research done with the Technion on robotic system, which has been very beneficial to IAI. I am confident that this relationship will remain as strong as ever. For more than 35 years, I have been active in IAI. I am leaving the company after 6 years as its president and a CEO, with many record-breaking achievements. I have created a legacy at IAI built on excellence in everything we do, far-looking vision and game-changing ideas, innovation always staying a few steps ahead of the competition. Thank you again for this great honor.
Thank you very much. And we shall continue with our next Honorary Doctorate recipient. I would like now to call upon Dr. Eli Opper of Israel to please rise. For your contributions to the promotion of research and development in the State of Israel, in your capacity as Chief Scientist of the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Labor, and Chairman of Eureka, the leading industrial R&D program in Europe, for your part in laying the foundations for the development of advanced technologies in general and the advancement of the State of Israel and the Technion in the field of nanotechnology in particular. Efforts that resulted in the establishment of 6 research centers, including the Russell Berry Nanotechnology Institute at the Technion, and for your leadership and vision, a role model for Technion alumni. Please approach the podium. I now invite Professor Hillel Pratt to present the scroll. I invite Dr. Opper to respond.
Chairman of the Board of Governors, Mr. Larry Shakir, Chairman of the Council, Mr. Rom Alster, President of the Technion, Professor Peretz Lavi, members of the Presidium, my fellow colleagues, the Honorary Doctorate recipients, member of the Senate, distinguished guests, dear family and friends, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. Erev Tov lekulam. I feel a great honor this evening to receive the Honorary Doctorate from the Technion, the institute I graduate from with the degrees of BSc and MSc in Electrical Engineering, and from which I had acquired my technological background and the inspiration for my career. This feeling is unique, especially in the cornerstone centennial and in front of the Technion's historic building. My PhD is from the University of Texas at Austin, and this ceremony, after a while, just a matter of 40 years, completes my education at the Technion, and thank you all for that. It is my belief that the future of our country strongly relies on the quality of our science and technology. Our security and economical success so far is mainly a result of our high quality of research, development, and technological innovation. Since the year 1924, the Technion is a symbol for excellence. The footprints of the Technion are all over, in the high-tech, the biomed, the health system, the traditional industry, the infrastructure, the defense system, and more. This is great, but the future is much more important. The Technion should strive to keep its status as one of the top universities, a real challenge due to the fierce competition all over the world, and thus will take a major role in leading Israel, the startup nation, towards the mid of the 21st century with economic growth, prosperity, and well-being. In fact, I consider myself as representing here on this podium the main stations of my professional career, Rafael and the Office of the Chief Scientist in the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Labor. Throughout, I had the privilege to collaborate with wonderful colleagues and contribute to the industry, the economy, as well as the defense. I would like to take this opportunity to mention with appreciation Professor Jacob Ziv, the chair of TELEM, the previous one, and those who had contributed to the establishment of the R&D centers of nanotechnology in our nation. And special thanks, of course, to my teammates from the Office of the Chief Scientist and its programs like the R&D Fund, Magnet, and the incubating programs. Warm thanks to my family, my wife Levit, this is personal, and our 4 children, and my brother, who is also a graduate of the Technion, and their families. An interesting fact that connects this celebration and the centennial year to my family is that my wife's father, the late Alexander Fishman, studied at the Technion, believe it or not, in the 1930s, and right after started to work as one of the first engineers at the Israeli Electric Corporation. By the way, he was also playing the violin here in Haifa at the Symphonic Orchestra of Haifa. This is a real legacy. From my side of the family, I am pretty sure that my late parents would have felt great pride this evening. After all, their son is receiving a doctorate degree from the Technion tonight, and this is his second doctorate degree. For years, I used to end my presentations and lectures, actually hundreds of times, with the old saying, by the way, it's not a Chinese ancient saying, it's mine or some others, and it says, excellence is a key success factor, and this is really fit to wrap up my response this evening, along with the spirit of excellence in the Technion. Thank you all.
I call upon John Seidel of the United States to please rise. With admiration and gratitude for your many years of devoted and skillful leadership at the helm of the American Technion Society, in tribute to your inspiring and infectious enthusiasm, which helps expand our circle of supporters, and in appreciation of the valuable professional expertise you bring to your involvement. Please approach the podium, and Professor Pratt, please present the scroll. I invite Mrs. Seidel to respond.
Thank you, President Levy, Chairman Jakir, Chairman Alter, for choosing to honor me, and I represent the American Technion Society, and thank my fellow recipients. What an incredible group to be part of. We are very conscious of dreams during the centennial celebrations, and I would like to add some of the dreams that were beyond anyone's wildest imagination. The dreams of 2 teenagers from Russia who left, came to Chicago, met, married, and had 2 daughters. They are my parents, and indeed they are missed this evening. The ongoing dream that I have living with my husband Arnold, a very special, caring man who shares my dreams and support for the Technion. I really could not have do anything that I do without his support. The dream of every parent realized with my very extraordinary, bright, and caring children, David, Gina, Craig, and Donna, and the special bonus of the 2 out of my 3 grandsons who are here tonight. Tommy, a student at the University of Michigan, and Ronnie, a student at USC. I am confident that the future is secure, and truly the best is yet to be. The dream of having my sister Bobby, who was and is an important part of what family really personifies. Thank you. I do appreciate all that they have done for me. The dream of an education that was realized via the New York City schools and UCLA, and I dare say Technion. An ongoing education to help me become an effective board member, volunteer, and financial assistance. I consider this evening a resounding affirmation of the American Technion's contribution to the Technion in Haifa. We raised over $1 billion over 13 years to further our collective effort. And we know that, I'd love to take the credit, but we know that it's a collaboration among staff, volunteers, and generous donors. If you'll forgive me for repeating some of the things that you said, Peretz, the dream of the American to be a major contributor to the university with a $100,000 gift from Jacob Schiff, who also recognized the dreams of Martin Buber, Berthold Feiwel, and Chaim Weizmann in 1901 to establish a scientific and technological institute. To the recent successful campaign of the American Technion Society, and I'm proud to stand among those who started the ATS in 1940. Technion is 100 years old, but the ATS is 70 years old. There is a long list of giants that I would like to thank, but there's one man in particular who is not here this evening, but I believe is known to many of you, Martin Kellner, who asked me to become involved. Little did I realize what that would mean. The dream of the and entrepreneurials educated at the Technion and every aspect of society. We know that the Technion is fantastic, but to get the validation that came from the New York Cornell collaboration and the Nobel Prizes is indeed absolute. When people ask me why I do what I do, there's really only one answer: the people that I get to meet and work with to achieve and realize dreams. To be part of the Technion family in Los Angeles, the United States, Israel, and obviously tonight, the world, is a rare opportunity and is vastly enhanced by the presence of my children and my family, my husband, of course. Thank you for the honor. Together we will build a better place. And as a lyric from the show, The Man of La Mancha, we will dream the impossible dream. I intend to do so, and I hope you will join me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Seidel. I call upon Professor Gunter Spur of Germany to please rise. In recognition of your outstanding scientific achievements through significant contributions to manufacturing systems and processes and machine tools technology, for educating generations of leaders in mechanical engineering, for your continuous and dedicated support of the Technion, and promotion of its cooperation with German universities, and for your unveiling the contributions of Jewish scientists in Berlin prior to World War II. Please approach the podium. I invite Professor Pratt. I invite Professor Spur to respond.
members of the board, President Lavie, deans of the faculty, distinguished persons, my good friends. I'm very much honored and deeply impressed by this Doctor Honoris Causa of the Technion in Haifa. I'm very proud that my professors from our institute, my colleagues are here, and the president of the Technical University too. That means that we have a birthday too, because 100 years ago, our Professor Schlesinger was the first on the chair of machine tools, worked together with Professor Berwald to make plans for education for the Technikum, which people in that time planned in Berlin for Haifa. And so the idea was born in our institute to educate young people here in this area of the world to start a new industry, to start factories like we had it in Europe and in the United States. That was a time of Frederick Winslow Taylor, and that was a time of machine tools, and England was the workshop of the world, but the European states were coming up, and so it was very much interesting to see the future of the factory in that time. Later, some of our professors from our institute, by political reasons, came to Haifa, like Professor Ehrenreich and very much Professor Korein. He was first dean in a faculty in the 30 years to make up a new institute like he had learned and studied with Schlesinger. When I came with the chair to Professor Schlesinger, I went to England to family of Schlesinger, and we started then in Germany with our institutes and our university, and with support of the German government, a Schlesinger chair, and since that time we have a bridge in our field to your institute and work together so many years. It is very important for the future to look what had happened in industry. The global production network is very other as in that time 100 years ago. And so I'm very happy that some of my very experienced collaborators are here, Professor Krause, Professor Stark. They go together with Ehud Lenz and Moshe Spitalny the new way. Computer-aided factory, the factory of the future, is supported by the computer. You know this. And so we developed systems running all over the world, and we are looking now to a new period of factories in the next 20 years. And so we work together in Europe with the United States, with Asia, and very near to the Technion, because it is a very high developed factory. In the future, with high intelligence, we have to produce like cars, 40,000 cars, each one is other, one day, and that all over the world. And this will say we need a very high educated generation of new engineers. And I think our university and our companies all over the world will work together with the Technion very much. You are very good in international effects, and you are very good in your education. All your engineers are very well known and highly respected. And so we wish us to you the best collaboration, and we thank the German Technion Society, Dr. Rother, for Krüger very much that they supported this good relation so long. Thank you so much.
Last but not least, I call upon Moshe Yanai of Israel to please rise. Behind me, maybe you'll come here. In recognition of your pioneering technological leadership in revolutionizing computer storage systems and advancing this industry, both globally and in Israel, in tribute to your being an iconic high-tech Sabra, and an inspiring role model for Technion students and alumni. and in gratitude for your friendship and support of the Technion, and your unique contribution to the quality of teaching by establishing the Yanai Awards for Excellence in Education. Please approach the podium. And I would now ask Professor Moshe Sidi to please present the scroll. I invite Mr. Yanai to respond.
Good evening, everyone. And first, thanks for the Technion and the committee for awarding me. It's a great honor for me, and it's kind of closing the circle with Moshe Sidi, who was a buddy of mine when we studied. So thanks. About the accommodation letter, there are actually two aspects on it, and I have a two short story about it. The first one is related to the group of Rome. About 40 years ago, actually in 1968, leading scientists from all academia, from all around the world, gathered in Rome. And they were checking the world situation in matter of pollution, industrialization, food resources, world population, and so forth. And they come to the grim conclusion that by the 1980, the Earth's capacity for sustaining humankind will end. And that actually raised a lot of headlines, and many scientists follow the calculation and they go to the same grim conclusion. But we are here, about 20 or 30 years later. So the question is, how come? And the solution or the answer is in technology and innovation. And the Technion is one of the institute, one of the major institutes to drive this, to drive technology and innovation that gets the world proceed and the acquisition of the humankind. Now, I thank the Technion a lot by the education, the tools that they gave me to take part on the digital revolution and be part of that technology. So thanks the Technion, the faculty, and everyone about that. The second story, it's about the education. It actually starts with an urban legend. There is an urban legend that one time at the Technion, a test was given to design a pipe of blood between Haifa to Tel Aviv. And it has to be like 2-inch wide and so much flow and so forth. And the student makes the calculation, but nobody commented on the fact that the fluid is blood. So the Technion decided to get some social study to us. And it was compulsory, they call it humanity study. And it was compulsory a subject. Now, in the midst of my Technion in 1973 in Yom Kippur War, I served for over 6 months. And when I get back, they gave me relief from the social study. And but on the grade book, I got a award as a professional, as a human professional. It's written over there, and I have a written proof from the Technion that milchama is מקצוע הומני. That war is a human profession. At that time, I remember how many of the professors at Technion took care of us, of the people who serve a lot of time, and they get up back and up to phase and up to time, and we completed successfully our study. So, in memory of that, on the dedication of the student, we established the educational funds. So, I thank everyone, the Technion, the alumni, my friends here, and especially my family, my dear family, my wife, my kids, and my friends that follow me for so many years. Thank you very much.
Before we conclude tonight's ceremony, we have one more treat for you. Tomorrow morning, we will be celebrating the launch of a new book called Technion Nation, Technion's Contribution to Israel and the World. This book, written by Professor Amnon Frankel and Shlomo Meital with Ms. Ilana Deber, tells the story of how Technion's graduates drove Israel's transformation from an economy of Jaffa oranges to semiconductors, and of how Technion scientists have given the world new forms of matter, life-saving discoveries, and countless innovations that enrich the lives of people everywhere, winning Nobel Prizes along the way. Tonight, we will see a short video to introduce you to this book.
All great innovations start with nothing. A great zero, which is a live, creative space, a simple human freedom of mind from which great ideas are born. Join me to look at some facts behind one of the great innovations in history, Israel's first and most powerful startup, an enterprise that helped shape and conceive a nation, Technion, Israel Institute of Technology. Let's draw a graph together. Here's the x-axis. It shows the years. Here's the y-axis. It shows the cumulative number of Technion graduates. The size and number of the bubbles reflect the number of graduates. It all began at ground level in the small coastal town of Haifa in 1912. There were no engineers, no professors. There was no Israel. It all began at zero. Yet within that zero was a vision of a better future. Maybe a fantasy, a pipe dream of a handful of visionary educators. But on April 11th, 1912, that dream became a first cornerstone. Like all startups, the beginning was hard. The first graduates were a group of 17, among them Israel's first female architect. Still, nothing much seemed to be happening, except two disastrous world wars. Then, in 1951, shortly after the birth of the independent state of Israel in 1948, around the time that the Faculty of Aeronautical Engineering was set up, we begin literally to see a liftoff. By 1958, Technion had outgrown its first building. David Ben-Gurion offered a new 300 dunam, or 75-acre campus, the Technion city of today. By 1971, Technion had 10,000 graduates, and by the 1980s, these graduates were spawning a high-tech revolution. After the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, Technion grew still faster to absorb the talent of incoming Soviet bloc scientists. Today, in 2012, there are over 70,000 Technion graduates in Israel and across the world. Across borders, across the frontiers of science and technology, with innovations from the ocean depths to outer space in medicine, nanotechnology, energy engineering, autonomous systems, computer science, and electrical engineering, these graduates make up what I like to call Technion Nation. So, let's take a closer look at the impact of Technion graduates on Israel and the world. Of some 300-odd non-American NASDAQ-listed companies, 72 are based in Israel, and of these, 2/3 are led by Technion grads. Of Israel's top 125 business leaders, 1/3 are Technion grads. Over 1/3 of Technion grads work in industry, and another 12% in research and development. Technion grads lead 9 of Israel's top 10 exporting companies. Over 41% of Technion grads at work today fill senior management positions. And 1/4 of all Technion grads has founded at least one startup. And 1 female Technion grad in 7 has founded a business. Nice figures, but let's look at the faces behind the miracle. People like Moshe Yanai, who revolutionized data storage systems. Shai Agassi, a global entrepreneur who is creating a transportation revolution with infrastructure for electric cars that run without a drop of gasoline. Dadi Perlmutter, Executive VP of Intel, who helped invent the Pentium and the Centrino. Inbal Kreis, who heads the Aero 3 project of Israel Aerospace Industries. For citizens of Technion Nation, innovation is second nature. Take a look at just some of the powerful patented devices on global markets. A camera the size of a pill to examine the inside of the intestinal tract from given imaging. An ultrasound system that can dissolve brain tumors without surgery from Insightec. Velcade, a drug to treat cancer, developed out of the ubiquitin discovery that won Israel its first Nobel Prizes in science. Rewalk, the exoskeleton that puts paraplegics back on their feet and enabled one paraplegic to complete the entire London Marathon. The Lempo-Zeev algorithm, applied by Technion graduates to bring real-time images of the surface of Mars. So, where will we be 100 years from now? With a few entirely reasonable assumptions about Technion's growth and expansion, when we celebrate Technion's 200th birthday, Technion Nation will comprise 500,000 citizens. If 70,000 graduates can build Israel and change the world, imagine the impact of 500,000. A pipe dream? That's what they said in 1912. Today, Technion is home to 3 Nobel laureates, and it has joined forces with Cornell University to set up a new paradigm of advanced science and technology education in New York City, NYC Tech, and the Technion Cornell Institute of Innovation. Across the world, innovators, decision makers, and entrepreneurs look to Technion to share that creative space behind the first big idea. Our human power to apply creativity, skills, and advanced science to shape a better, brighter future for us all.
I again wish to express our deepest appreciation to all the honorees, and indeed to all the Technion's friends who have come from all over the world to demonstrate their solidarity with the Technion and Israel. Will the audience please rise for Hatikva?